The theme that I see happening a lot is that teams want to dive right in, and then it kind of backfires on them, and there's this whiplash effect where they have to pause and say, actually, we don't have any internal data resources in place to handle this. We now realize that we need to figure that data piece out first before we can get into on this bullet train of AI adoption.
Like, how do you just kind of get started when someone says to you, we need to use AI, or we need to be doing something with AI?
Yeah, I usually respond to them with a question that they don't like, but it's very insightful, which is, what problem do you want to solve and why? And if you don't have the answer to that question, you can't really get to the next step of like even starting to look at solutions. If you dive into solutions right away because you're excited, there's going to be some strategic misalignment. So what teams and leadership really should do is sit down with, at a minimum, department heads, get input from users, field users, whoever is your main end user at the end of the day, to ask them, what are your pain points and why, and where should we be taking away processes or helping make you more efficient? Because that helps identify and surface that true pain and what people care about and what will drive value. Once you complete what is honestly a listening exercise to the organization, something to keep in mind that's really critical with AI is understanding what AI is good at and valuable for, and then what humans are good at and valuable for. Because when we see conflation of the two, that's when we get really poor outcomes, and we want to avoid that, right? So if we are understanding that AI is good at processing huge data sets, identifying trends, automating things that are very predictable. And so a good example is, let's take accounting and billing and matching PO numbers to invoice numbers, right? We're matching numbers. We're doing that all the time. Does that necessarily need a human? There's a ton of data. Probably not the best use of a human's time, but probably a great use of a tool that can automate and use AI to identify and do a matching exercise. And then a human can oversee it. Yeah. And then on the flip side, let's take anything that's like customer service related or communication related back to other people, and where we need judgment and a human feel. That's where humans really should be in the forefront. And we have to be careful of putting AI in the driver's seat when it should be a human, and putting a human in the driver's seat when it's much better off to be an AI, quite frankly.
Yes, totally. Yeah, that's a good example. Super simple invoice matching. No one needs to do that. High confidence, easy to human verify. But in such like a critical, I guess, a critical piece of work where human judgment is needed, and the difference between like making a profit and not, is that really somewhere where you want AIs to be doing all of the work? Now, maybe it might help do a BOQ, but you still have to kind of verify it. And so that's an example of maybe a more extreme AI use case that is probably not a good one to hand off or start with.
At least not yet, right? We have to see.
At least not yet.
The other thing too that I don't think gets talked about enough is, even if AI is also really good at a process and we're using it for that process, we will still need people to do that process in some aspect, because that's the way that a lot of early career professionals learn, is by doing these, more intense, time-intensive, tedious tasks. Because if you haven't at least done an estimate yourself, how can you know how to check one, right?
Yes.
So we need to maintain some level of, human training and input, and actually doing, not input, human doing of these tasks as well. So that, we're not just relying on an AI, but we're also retaining the knowledge, the talent, the skills that is within our industry and our companies and our people. It really means just finding those what we call innovation champions. So these are individuals who, they already are open-minded. From my perspective, it doesn't matter how techie they are. They just have to be gung-ho about like, hey, yeah, I want to try the new thing. And if it works great, I'm going to tell everybody about it. That's really all that matters, right? They're going to try it, and then they'll share it.
Promote it.
Yeah.
Yep.
If it works well, right? So make sure you do your homework and get something that has a high likelihood of working well, and find those innovation champions and strategically work with them on those earlier pilots and help, build that coalition. So there's a lot of culture building that goes into it. And, we're people at the end of the day, and people need to speak to people. It takes time. It's not easy by any means. So it's not a technical thing at all. It's more so a psychological, cultural change management thing.
Yep.
And I think we tend to focus on the technical aspects, yes, which are important, but hopefully you've had, some good processes in place ahead of time to vet through all those technical things. And then it's a question of okay, now that you have, the process and the tech piece nailed down, hopefully you'll see how the pilot goes. Do you have the people lined up and ready to go? And it also comes with leadership buy-in as well, right? So this is all assuming that leadership is supporting the initiative. There's good communications going. You also have the solution that you're piloting helping with those communications as well. So a high level of engagement and good first-time experience too is really key. Things like that.
What would be on your guidelines? Just high level. Is there a few key ones that you would see on there? If it was the Erin Khan global guidelines, what would be on there? One pager that's up in the office on the wall.
Yeah, I'm thinking oh man, there's so many things. Definitely data privacy, data concerns. So
think before you upload.
Think before you share.
Yeah.
Should this be going into AI, or, double check your settings? Are you using the right AI? Are you training it properly?
Yeah. Which AI are you using? Yeah. Training data
right
on or off?
On or off.
Yep.
If it's an internal company AI, or are you using that how your company says? So we see quite often people using, let's say, various GPTs as Google, as as source of truth, and as generating a lot of content for them, and it's not necessarily the right or the best way to use it, right? So it's a partner. It is not telling you necessarily truthful things, though. So it's kind of wired to please you. It's wired to make up stuff and find stuff just to satisfy whatever you're prompting it. So, and if you're writing something as well, this is a big one too. Instead of saying "Hey AI, write this thing for me," it should be, "Hey AI, here's my outline, here's my brainstorm, here are my thoughts on what I want to write about. Help me organize this," so that it's preserving, your authenticity. Because at the end of the day, we're people, we want to interact with authentic people. And that voice, and it comes through, right? So you can kind of tell when something's a little bit of AI fluff. So that how piece, I think it's going to matter more and more as we scale our tools.
Thanks a lot, Erin. That was good fun. I actually learned a lot from you.
Beautiful. Yeah. Thanks for a fantastic discussion and really getting me thinking there.
Thanks for watching, guys. If you want to know more about construction and get all the professional tips, tricks, and AI advice from real construction project managers, follow this channel for more insights.